A £1,000,000 hypercar. And a motorcycle. Not just any motorcycle. A supercharged, forged carbon fiber weapon that cost £50,000 to build and was engineered from the ground up with one single purpose: to embarrass things that have no business being embarrassed. Here's the question nobody wants to answer out loud. Can a bike, 2 wheels, 1 rider, no roof, no safety net, actually beat one of the most extreme hypercars ever bolted together on a strip of tarmac? We're about to find out. And the answer is going to make you question everything you thought you knew about what fast actually means. Welcome to Luxury and Scale. Strap in. The Koenigsegg Jesko Attack. Say that name slowly and let it land. This is not a car that exists to be reasonable. Koenigsegg built it at the absolute outer edge of what road-legal machinery is allowed to be. A twin-turbocharged, 1,200 horsepower monster on pump fuel that becomes a 1,600 horsepower weapon the moment you switch to ethanol. It was designed to attack the laws of physics. The name is not a metaphor. And then there's the Suzuki Hayabusa, already a legend in its standard form. But this one has been completely rebuilt by a specialist performance shop. Forged internals, a new exhaust, a supercharger bolted to a 1,300cc 4-cylinder engine, a longer swing arm for better traction, and carbon fiber everywhere weight could be saved. The result is 370 horsepower through a single rear wheel. 370 horsepower on a bike. These two machines represent two completely different ideas of what extreme performance looks like. One costs over £1,000,000 and was built by a team of obsessive Swedish engineers. The other costs £50,000 and was built by someone who clearly has no fear of death. Today, they race. Let's start with what you see. Because seeing a Koenigsegg Jesko Attack in person is not a normal experience. The body is exposed carbon fiber with a green tint lacquer over it. Not paint, not wrap. You can see straight through to the woven herringbone pattern underneath. Every strand visible, every layer intentional. This finish alone costs in the region of €400,000 as an option. It is, without question, one of the most visually extraordinary surfaces ever applied to a road car. The proportions are dramatic and purposeful. The front splitter cuts the air aggressively. The rear wing stands tall and wide, generating downforce figures that would be relevant on a racing circuit. The diffuser at the back channels air with the kind of precision that comes from years of aerodynamic obsession. The wheels are bespoke, the wheel arches are sculpted, and the whole silhouette sits low to the ground like something coiled and ready. This is not a car that tries to look fast. It simply looks like nothing else on Earth. The Hayabusa, in this form, is equally striking in a completely different way. The carbon fiber bodywork has been stripped and rebuilt. The rear swing arm is elongated and exposed. The supercharger hardware is visible if you know where to look. There is a rawness to it. A motorcycle that has had every unnecessary gram removed and every performance component upgraded until what remains is pure intent. Side by side, they make an extraordinary visual pairing. One is sculpture, the other is a weapon. Step inside the Jesko Attack and the first thing you notice is the personalization. The interior has been finished in Alcantara throughout, with branding details added at the owner's request. Subtle references to a private aviation company that funded this entire journey. It is a cabin built for one specific person, and that specificity shows in every surface. The driving position is low and central. The visibility is focused. You see exactly what you need to see and nothing that distracts you. The switchgear is precise. The screens display everything you need to manage a car with this level of performance, including the ability to select between pump fuel and ethanol modes, each unlocking a completely different level of output. There is no unnecessary softness here. This is a cockpit built around the act of driving fast, wrapped in materials that happen to be extraordinarily beautiful. The Hayabusa, by contrast, gives the rider almost nothing between themselves and the experience. There is no cabin, no climate control, no infotainment system. There is a seat, a set of bars, 2 foot pegs, and the road. The technology is mechanical and visceral. The supercharger, the forged internals, the traction management built into how the longer swing arm loads the rear tire under acceleration. Every technological decision was made in service of one outcome, getting down the strip faster than should be possible. This is where everything that came before stops mattering. The Koenigsegg Jesko Attack runs a 5-liter twin-turbocharged V8. On pump fuel, the kind you could theoretically fill at a motorway service station, it produces 1,200 horsepower. Switch to ethanol, and that number climbs to 1,600. The torque output is enormous. The gearbox is Koenigsegg's own 9-speed multi-clutch unit, capable of changing gear in milliseconds in any direction. The power goes to the rear wheels. At this level of performance, the limiting factor is not the engine. It is the surface beneath the tires. On a runway, with imperfect tarmac and the full weight of a hypercar pressing down, getting that power onto the road cleanly requires everything the car's systems have to offer. The Hayabusa answers with 370 horsepower through a single rear wheel on a bike that weighs almost nothing. The supercharger transforms the character of the engine entirely. It doesn't just add power, it changes the delivery, the sound, the sensation. The longer swing arm was fitted specifically to manage the wheelie tendency that comes with this level of output. And even with it, the front wheel still wants to come up. In the standing quarter mile, the result was this. The Hayabusa crossed the line in 9.8 seconds. The Koenigsegg, 9.9 seconds. Read that again. A 50,000-pound supercharged motorcycle beat a million-pound Koenigsegg Hypercar in a straight line by 1/10 of a second. And it wasn't a fluke. It was traction, weight, and physics doing exactly what they always do when nobody is pretending otherwise. In the rolling races, the Koenigsegg's advantage began to show. With the cars already moving and the traction problem reduced, the sheer horsepower of the hypercar started to pull, but even then, the Hayabusa fought, every single time. The brake test was never really a contest. 4 wheels, carbon ceramic brakes, and a car built for circuit use stopped in a distance that no motorcycle could match. 2 wheels and a single caliper at each end simply cannot compete with that. Physics again. Koenigsegg Jesko Attack. 1,200 horsepower on pump fuel, 1,600 on ethanol. The numbers are simply staggering, bespoke in every sense. This car was built for its owner, not for a showroom. Aerodynamic engineering at a level that rivals purpose-built racing cars. The exposed carbon finish is one of the most beautiful things ever put on a road car. But traction limitations on imperfect surfaces mean the power is not always usable. The price and the options list place this in a category most people will only ever watch on a screen, and even a million-pound hypercar can lose to a 50,000-pound motorcycle. That will never stop being uncomfortable. Now, the tuned Suzuki Hayabusa. Quarter-mile time that genuinely embarrasses machinery costing 20 times more. 50,000 pounds for 9.8-second quarter miles is extraordinary value by any measure. The supercharger transforms an already legendary engine into something genuinely frightening. But the clutch overheating under repeated hard launches is a real-world limitation. There is no safety net, no cage, no airbags, no roof. The risk is entirely the rider's. Wheelies at 140 miles per hour are impressive until they aren't. The Koenigsegg Jesko Attack is for the person who has already done everything else, who has owned fast cars and found them insufficient, who understands that a car can be an investment, an obsession, a statement, and a machine simultaneously, and who has the means and the vision to commission one that reflects all of those things at once. This is not a car you stumble into. It is a car you spend years working toward. The tuned Hayabusa is for the person who measures speed in fractions of seconds and couldn't care less about what the result looks like. Who understands that the most efficient path between 2 points is sometimes just a set of handlebars and an engine that should not be allowed to exist. Who has the skill and, frankly, the nerve to point it down a runway and hold on. One of these vehicles is a work of art that happens to be extraordinarily fast. The other is extraordinarily fast. Full stop. A 9.8 versus a 9.9. After everything, the exposed carbon, the million-pound price tag, the 1,200 horsepower, the Swedish engineering obsession, a supercharged motorcycle built in a performance shop won a drag race against one of the most extreme hypercars ever made. And that story is only possible because of what that motorcycle is. 50,000 pounds, forged internals, a supercharger, carbon fiber, and an owner with absolutely no intention of being beaten. The Koenigsegg will always be the more extraordinary machine in almost every other dimension. The design, the technology, the interior, the rolling speed, the braking, the experience of ownership, in all of those things, it is in a category of its own. But in a standing quarter mile on a real-world runway, the bike wins. And that, honestly, is one of the best things about this sport. Money doesn't always win. Sometimes 50,000 pounds of determination beats 1,000,000 pounds of engineering by 1/10 of a second, and the whole world gets to watch. So, which one would you take? The hypercar or the weapon? Drop it in the comments. We want to know exactly where you stand on this one. If this video gave you something, hit the like button. It takes 1 second, and it genuinely makes a difference. And if luxury and scale isn't already on your subscription list, now is the time. This is what we do here. The extraordinary machines, the real stories, the races that nobody expected. We'll see you in the next one. Drive well. Ride safe.